Okay, today let's just talk about how to make white rice. What you're going to need. You're going to need a fine mesh colander, a pot, measuring cup, salt, let's just cover to our pot, and I like to use jasmine rice. Now, jasmine rice is a long-grained rice. This would be very different if you were making sushi rice, which is a short grain rice. So jasmine, or also you could use any type of long grain. However, the reason I like the jasmine is it has a really nice fragrant flavor and smell to it, and I just think it just complements any Asian dish that we're making. So the first part of making rice, aside from measuring, is to make sure, and this is where the colander comes in, that you rinse your rice well. If not, it's going to be sticky and gooey. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We are going to be making 2 cups of rice today, starting with 2 cups of dry rice. And then go ahead and get that rice into our strainer. Now what we want to do is we want to rinse this rice until the water runs clear underneath, or as close as you can get to that. It's going to take a few minutes. That rice around with your hands or with a spoon. Right, so we've been rinsing our rice here for a bit. Let's just take a look and see where we're at. That looks pretty clear to me. So we're going to go ahead and just put it in our pan. And now what we need to do is we need to add in our water. If we need to add more water, we can certainly do this. Next, we'll add our salt. And I only do about a half a teaspoon of salt, not any more. You don't want this too salty. You could even do a 1/4 teaspoon. If you're watching your sodium, that would probably be fine for this dish. Now let's get our rice onto the stove. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with a higher flame until we get it boiling. And then we're going to cover it and turn it down. Our water is starting to boil. So we're going to give this a little stir, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn our flame down to a low flame, not the lowest it can go. We still want this to cook, so maybe like a medium low for now, and then we can turn it down even further if need be. All right, so we're going to put the cover on this, and we're going to let this be. All right, let's check the water level on our rice and see how we're doing. As you can see, a lot of the water has cooked out of the rice, and we're going to give it a little stir just to see where we're at. And you can see I still have some water down there in the bottom, so we're doing okay. We're going to go ahead and make sure we get all the rice off our spoon and cover that back up. We cover it back up and we'll continue to cook it and check it in about 3 more minutes, and then we'll see how we're doing with consistency of the rice, if it's toothy, if it's done. So we'll be back in just a minute. All right, let's have a peek and see what's going on here with our rice. It smells wonderful. And as you can see, all of our water has dissipated. It's all absorbed into that rice. So let's go ahead and just take a taste and see where we're at. All right, our rice is almost done. You can see here, it looks quite nice. It's not sticking to the pan too much. We have a little bit down there at the bottom. You're going to get that with rice. I don't see any way to avoid that. I'm just going to take my tasting spoon and see what we have here. I'm going to give it 1 more minute, but it's almost perfect. All right, I've given the rice 1 more minute, and what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to turn off the flame. And we're just going to let that sit there just for a moment. We can even remove it over to another burner so that it's not cooking any longer or burning on the bottom. But I'll show you that if we just do this, we still have a lot of steam. Can you see the steam coming out of there? Yeah, there you go. So we're going to let it continue to steam for about another minute, and then we will fluff it up with a fork. All right, so here is our rice, perfectly cooked. We've taken the lid off. We can fluff it up with a fork. Now, since we are going to be using this rice in various recipes throughout the week, we're going to transfer to a large container where we can let this cool for just a short period of time. What I want to teach you about rice is do not let your rice sit out. You want it to cool, put it in a bigger pan than needed if necessary, depending on how much you make. Rice is one of these foods that we have to worry about spores. Spores that can develop and make us sick and give us things like botulism. So we want to handle rice properly. And what we're going to do is we're going to get it into another vessel. We're going to make sure it has a little room to cool, and we're going to get it into the refrigerator to finish cooling down. So we've transferred our rice into our container that we're going to be able to put into the refrigerator, and I want to show you something. This is my pan. Some of the rice sticks and some of it isn't going to go into my dish. I'm not worried about that. That's about 1 cent worth of rice. And what we're going to do is we're going to let this pan fill up with cool water before we wash it. The cool water will actually help dissipate some of the starches that come from the rice naturally. You can see how easy that's going to clean up. So I don't want you to worry if you got a messy pan when you're done making rice. That's just the way it is. All the time that it took me to wash my pan, my rice is cool enough to go into the refrigerator. So I can go ahead and pop this top on it. And now we have this for all kinds of meal prep meals for during the week. Jasmine Rice.